All right, all right, all right. We are live. What's going on, Broncos country? Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Before I get started, quick shout out to everybody that's been commenting, really supporting the channel going. 101 subscribers. Like, wow, let's go. That's but doing this for about a month, and it really means a lot. And this is my joy to get on here, talk about football every day. So let's get into today's topic. Hit that like. If you like Broncos content, please consider subscribing. We're now on our way to 500, but hey, let's talk about the topic today. Sam Howell. You'll probably seen that on the thumbnail. Is he the ideal bridge quarterback right now for the Denver Broncos? Yesterday I was talking about the options of how the Broncos could potentially acquire somebody like Justin Fields. I think right now it would be a lot easier, let's say, if we had a late second round pick or something like that, okay? But right now we're at pick 76. That's our next pick after pick 12, and it kind of puts us at a disadvantage for acquiring somebody like Justin Fields, who I think will get traded. We'll probably see him traded to the Atlanta Falcons or something like that, I'm guessing, for a little bit more than the Broncos are comfortable giving up. And this morning when I was at the gym, I was listening to Cecil Lammey and Andrew Mason. They do the Orange and Blue Today podcast with Denver Sports, linked in the description. Y'all be sure to check them out because I really like their draft content. And they were talking, I guess this was filmed yesterday, about how Sam Howell could be one of the targets that Sean Payton and the Broncos front office is looking at when it comes to bringing in somebody to be that bridge quarterback until that rookie quarterback. In this instance, they talked about JJ McCarthy until that quarterback is ready. And I really like the idea of bringing in somebody that is cap controlled, that can kind of hold the ship for a little bit until that rookie quarterback is completely ready. You don't want to see a situation in which they're thrown out there before they're ready. I think definitely if you're taking a quarterback in this year's draft, I mean, you want to see them play at some point, but maybe they're not ready week 1, even at that pick 12, and that's totally okay. Who are you going to bring in to bridge that gap? Okay. I think it's best that, we've had a handful of conversations about this. I don't think it's going to be Russell Wilson. I don't think it should be Russell Wilson. So let's take a look at some of the other options. We've discussed yesterday Justin Fields. I mean, he would be about a $3 million cap hit for us this year, and then under contract with that 5th-year option if we decide to pick that up for that next year if we were to trade for him. Anybody like Jameis Winston or Sam Darnold, one of these other free agent quarterbacks, they're probably going to cost more money than that $3 million range. I think Jared Stidham, he's under contract for about $7 million or so. Let me go ahead and check that. And so wanted to bring up the idea and talk through what would it look like for Sam Howell to be here, and how do you think that he would fit? Yeah, so he's on the book for $7 million, Jarrett Stidham is. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and we can kind of get into some of the specifics about this. First, let's take a look at the contract, all right? If y'all aren't using Spot Track, definitely highly suggest y'all use it. And right now, this is great. He would be on the hook right now for our salary cap. If we were to trade, let's say, a day 3 pick or a future day 3 pick for him, he'd be on the hook for just a little under $1 million on our salary cap. So that is big time cap control. You love that. If the Washington Commanders, they're going to go ahead and draft somebody like Jane Daniels or Drake May and just go with it from day one, well, Sam Howell, he'll have the opportunity to come out here, play for a coach that he really did respect and liked a lot. During his draft interview, Cecil Lammey was talking about that in the podcast yesterday about the time talking to him last year, and said that the quarterback that he watched the most of and who he tries to model his game after the most is Drew Brees, which I thought that was really interesting. So if we're trading for a quarterback like this, I love it. you can get him for really cheap, not only with the assets it would take to acquire somebody like Sam Howell, but because he was a 5th-round pick a couple years ago, his contract's going to be incredibly cheap the next 2 years. And then after 2025, when he's supposed to be an unrestricted free agent in 2026, you're hoping that, I mean, the guy that we have drafted this year, if all goes according to plan, he's well cemented as a starter and we can let him move on, go find another bridge opportunity for himself, or better yet, just sign here as a long-term backup. I think that would be super ideal. So in terms of what it's going to take to acquire him, really love this. Really love this. This is something that's going in Sam Howell's favor. He would be cheaper than any bridge quarterback that we would want to sign in free agency. And that's very, very important with dealing with the Russell Wilson cap hit. I think expected to be that $35.4 million this year. And that will go up, balloon to about 50 in 2025. So let's go ahead and get into some of his stats a little bit, which I think is interesting. One of the things that they brought up, again, go listen to the podcast, they brought up is that Eric Bieniemy barely used any play action. The Washington Commanders had some of the worst offensive line play in the NFL last year, right next to the Chicago Bears, right? So neither of these guys had great quarterback play, held on to the ball quite a bit, but what I mean was just sacked. I mean, look at this. Was sacked 65 times. That is absolutely insane. That's more than Shedeur Sanders. That's crazy. And there wasn't really much of an attempt to establish a run game with the Commanders last year. Sam Howell, of course, was playing from deficits in a lot of these games, so they're passing the ball quite a bit. But that's something that maybe you would want to see him grow in, or hopefully have more success here in Denver, because I think we do have an above average offensive line right now. Is that this kind of completion percentage off of play action will be much higher than 56% that we see this year. Getting through for almost 4,000 yards. That's great. Had a good completion percentage in the short game, which we can get into. And I thought this was interesting as well. You can see I pointed out yesterday in this video regarding Justin Fields that this center intermediate to long game was not thrown very often from Justin Fields, just like Russell Wilson. But you can see, I mean, a lot more passes being thrown in the center of the field, and that's always ideal. But again, turn the ball over quite a bit. Let me see how many interceptions he had. 8, 17, 21 interceptions. Okay. I mean, that's a lot. His completion percentage in the deep routes was less than 30%. That's worse than Justin Fields. So that is something to take note of. But you can see during the short game, the 0 to 9 yards, this is really important. 75% completion percentage. This is really solid stuff. If you're looking at a quarterback like Justin Fields, if I remember correctly from what we were looking at yesterday, this is substantially higher than where Justin Fields was at. And I think he can throw the screen game pretty well. Of course, he's a little undersized. That's never super ideal. 6'1". Drew Brees was around 6 feet, 6'1", right? So, Sean Payton has worked with some of these shorter quarterbacks before. And if you can coach him up to maybe take a step up in his game, I think that could happen under a coach like Sean Payton. I don't know if he could become a franchise quarterback, and that's why I'm thinking like, hey, let's bring him in here, have him bridge the gap if we're able to draft somebody like JJ McCarthy at 12, or we take a quarterback right now in the 3rd round, whether that be Michael Pratt, Spencer Rattler, Michael Penix, one of those other guys. You have Sam Howell that can bridge the gap, start half the season, 3/4 of the season until that quarterback is ready. And then you can see what you have in them. Now, if it's like a 3rd round pick or whatever that we're throwing out there for the second half of the season, if things just don't look right, that's okay. We probably will be in the position to draft a quarterback in 2025, right? I mean, I'm hoping. But like many other Broncos fans, I'm hoping that we're able to get the guy that we want this year. I think some things are really going to have to fall in our favor. But, in terms of ability, I think I would prefer still somebody like Justin Fields, somebody like Sam Darnold, somebody like Jameis Winston coming in here as a bridge quarterback. Heck, if you decide to still roll with Jarrett Stidham, I'm totally okay doing that. You know, I think I probably like Sam Howell a little bit better than somebody like Jarrett Stidham. That's just me, but for the production and the value that you can get with his contract, I mean that's great. Getting a bridge quarterback for under $1 million this year, that's a really great deal. And hey, if you got to give up a 6th or 7th round pick to allow that to happen, I'm totally down with that. I really am. Now, if we were to cut Jarrett Stidham, for instance, we save $5 million doing that. So that could be another way in which we navigate around the cap issue a little bit, even with trying to save some more money with that bridge quarterback. But it seems like Sean Payton really likes Jarrett Stidham, and I think he will be on the roster. But that is an option. Like, hey, we need some more money. We can cut Jarrett Stidham, save $5 million. That could be interesting. And then, hey, Sam Howell, again, is only a little under $1 million for this year. So if we are to draft somebody like JJ McCarthy, I like this idea. Have somebody that can be a potential starter for us for 8 to 10 games, something like that, until JJ McCarthy is ready, if that's the pick, and then we can roll with him throughout the future. So I really do like the fact that they brought this up. And yeah, who's to say Sam Howell can't take a jump in an offense run here by Sean Payton with a really good offensive line. I need to watch some of him to see like how his pocket presence is. Again, that's a lot of sacks. Of course, he had a much worse offensive line than the Broncos had this past year, but I mean, we saw that issue with Russell having trouble playing from the pocket and just running into sacks. I mean, holding on to the ball, running into sacks. That might be something that you have to coach out of Sam Howell a little bit as well. So this could be really interesting potential for the Broncos. I want the Broncos to save as much money as possible in every way possible. I'm totally down if we're going to cut Jarrett Stidham and bring somebody like that in to bridge the gap for a little while until somebody like JJ McCarthy is ready. So y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments. Really do appreciate, again, all the support that I've had with this channel. Over 100 subscribers now. It really means a lot. That means we're on our way to 500, baby. So if there's anything that y'all want me to do a video or live stream about here in the near future, please leave it in the comments. Why I love doing this is having this open dialogue with all y'all. Like, I don't always agree with y'all's comments. You don't always agree with mine. That's totally okay. We're here to talk Broncos. The channel's called David Talks Broncos. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to be back with a video on my other channel, David Talks Buffs, later this afternoon, talking about Morgan Pearson. Links in the description if you want to help me get to 7,000 subs over there. So thanks again, guys. I'll be back later. And as always, go Broncos.